Let's talk about the road to recovery now from coronavirus. This afternoon, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy extended the public health emergency for another 30 days. This all comes as the state reopened several businesses today, including casinos, outdoor amusement parks, water parks, museums, libraries, indoor recreation too, like bowling alleys and gyms. But for the gyms, it's only for individualized training. And there is some new relief for parents in Hudson County. The playgrounds in Hoboken reopened today, so anyone who is older than 2 years old will have to wear a mask or a face covering. Let's get out to News 4's Brian Thompson live in Point Pleasant Beach with how things are going out there. Hi, Brian.
Yeah, good afternoon. And here at Jenkinson's Boardwalk, we could say let the games begin. Folks are able to finally come inside to events like this arcade, other things, but it's not quite the same as it was before. You can't turn around and not see a hand sanitizer station here. Both reassuring and a warning. We're still in a pandemic, and safety is in the eye of the beholder.
I feel it's so-so. I mean, I think as long as we have our masks on when we're around large groups of people, I think it's pretty safe. We're being outside.
So finally, rides could open here at Jenkinson's, though they will periodically shut down for cleaning and...
Masks are required in the ride park. There's a 50% capacity in the ride park.
But the capacity inside the aquarium, just 25%. And plenty of social distancing reminders.
Everything's really done well. They have sanitation everywhere, so this is their second trip in here today.
Still, it's not clear the fish in these tanks got that message. 25% capacity allowed in the arcade as well. When we were here, it appeared most people were still out on the beach. Even so, we found several cleaning crews making the rounds, keeping everything sanitized. And that won approval from one Pennsylvania woman.
Just being cautious. I mean, you got to be careful. I mean, you don't want to get sick.
It's going to be a most unusual summer now for businesses like this one, and as well for libraries and bowling alleys and whatever you want to say. We'll have to work through this pandemic, but it's not going to be easy, clearly. Live in Point Pleasant Beach, Brian Thompson, News 4 New York.
Not easy, but we got to do it, Brian. Thank you so much. Mayor de Blasio today says the city is moving full steam ahead to get kids back into school in September. They're setting a goal of getting the maximum number of students back in the classroom. According to a city survey, 75% of parents want to send their kids back to school. Right now, the city says it's working on several plans for the fall. Coronavirus safety precautions obviously will be in place. They include face coverings, social distancing, hand washing stations, and deep cleaning.
And we know that there's going to be a lot of challenges. We know there's just sheer logistical challenges with schools that were overcrowded before the coronavirus and now have to practice social distancing. But we're going to make it work.
City Schools Chancellor Richard Carranza met with principals today and teachers as well to talk about those contingency plans.
In Connecticut, the state is one of 4 on track to contain the virus. But to stay on course, Governor Ned Lamont says he's changed the plan to reopen bars. Those were originally set to reopen in a couple of weeks. Well, Lamont now says, looking at the rest of the country's surging case numbers, he's decided it's best to pause the reopening of bars. He explains it's just safer to be outside.
Well, yes, we're going to keep our restaurants at 50% capacity indoors. More importantly, I urge you to go outdoors. I urge you to take that outdoor dining every opportunity you can. It's just much, much safer.
Now, leading into the holiday weekend, the state says it will also limit parking capacity at state parks and beaches to avoid any overcrowding. And beachgoers should also keep their blankets at least 15 feet apart. And of course, they have to wear their masks, Stefan.
A different situation outside of the tri-state. More staggering numbers nationwide today as coronavirus continues to spread, in some areas seemingly out of control. New data shows in at least 45 states the rate of infection is higher than it was just a week ago. U.S. marking another single-day high in new COVID-19 cases, more than 50,000 you see there. States from coast to coast are now freezing or rolling back their reopening plans.
This is all complicated by the fact that we have 50 states going in 50 different directions. We need a national plan, a national response for this national crisis.
Each state has been different, but get a load of this in Alabama. Officials now shutting down so-called COVID-19 parties. These parties are being held by students where they intentionally invite sick guests trying to catch the virus first. Here's a story new at 4. We are finding out that former Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain is now in the hospital in Atlanta with coronavirus. Less than 2 weeks ago, he was at President Trump's rally in Tulsa as a campaign surrogate. He tweeted this photo from the rally. You can see in the picture he was not wearing a mask.
Now, President Trump is now touting the latest job numbers today. The economy added nearly 5 million jobs, pushing the unemployment rate down to 11.1%. Those numbers beat expectations, and some economists say the labor market is healing from the devastating impacts of the pandemic. Others say, though, we still have a long way to go. Earlier today, the president said the economy is roaring back.
It's coming back extremely strong. We have some areas where we're putting out the flames or the fires, and that's working out well. We're working very closely with governors.
Former Vice President Joe Biden called it a good day for American families who are struggling to get back on their feet, but he accused President Trump of bungling the COVID-19 response and leaving our economy in, quote, a deep hole.
4 months into this crisis, there's still a desperate need for food across the tri-state. So this afternoon, Nassau County held what it says is the biggest food distribution in New York State history. News 4's Greg Circle live in Uniondale this afternoon. Greg, this is clearly a huge help to so many families who are struggling right now.
That's right, Stephen. In fact, this emergency food distribution is still going strong roughly 2 hours after it began. Really a stunning display of the food insecurity here on Long Island that officials say has been made worse by the coronavirus pandemic.
All right, thank you. People don't want to stand on a food line. They stand on a food line because they have to.
And today, that food line included families on foot and others in cars. The backup stretched through the Nassau Coliseum parking lot out onto Hempstead Turnpike.
Feels like I'm in a twilight zone.
Carol Casanova of Freeport was first in line. Her husband hasn't worked since the pandemic began. Today, she waited 5 hours for a box of food like this.
We've tried to stretch our dollars to help the family and friends, and the rubber band can only stretch but so far.
200 volunteers from Island Harvest, with help from Nassau County, were today delivering 100,000 pounds of food to as many as 4,000 families. Over 40% of those recipients, officials say, have never needed a handout before.
We have found over the past couple of months that people are coming in Mercedes-Benz and Tesla and Jaguar.
Every little bit helps. This retired Vietnam vet says he once donated to Island Harvest, but now needs its help. The food pantry has already delivered 1.5 million more meals this year than last.
I give them the highest praise that they are out here helping no matter who it is. They're providing for the people. That's what we need.
Back live now, and as you can see, the food handout continues. The CEO of Island Harvest tells me that it may take some families years to recover from the effects of this pandemic. And as a result, the food pantry says it will continue in emergency food distribution mode until at least the beginning of next year. We're live in Uniondale. Greg Circle, News 4 New York.